I'll do some claps in when I do my 3 counts from now on.
Can you continue chewing while we do the podcast? Because I think that combined with the beeping, it's going to be like art. Just all.
Welcome to Two I Hardly Know Her's Stomp Edition.
We're all trying out for the Blue Man Group.
Damn it, I blew myself.
Damn it, I blew the waveform up.
I was gonna say.
Hello. Welcome to Tutor, I Hardly Know Her.
Welcome to Hardly Tutor, and you know her. How's your dinner, Garrett?
I'm still in the middle of it.
What are you eating?
I am eating a punchki.
What the fuck is a punchki?
Is that a
You know
Pokemon?
what a punchki is?
I thought that was that clown that you blew up and then you punched in the face and then he went backwards like a weeble wobble.
No. A weeble wobble, weeble wobble.
What is a punchki?
A punchki is
Sounds very doughy.
in this where I live, the South Bend, Mishawaka area. This is a big thing. Is it not a big thing in other places, or is it just? I don't know what it is.
I've honestly never heard of it before.
For Fat Tuesday, people go crazy for punchkis, which are pretty much just jelly donuts. That's pretty much all it is. It's just a jelly donut. And the most popular flavor, I think, is raspberry. But yeah, they're really good.
I didn't know what punchki was. Why can't they just call it a jelly donut?
And punchki is spelled weird. It's like Paczki.
It's probably Polish.
Yeah, it's some Polish shit. That's what we got going up here.
Apparently, South Bend is just like the Polish capital of
Indiana.
It really
the
is.
Midwest. Well, Mac's Polish, and he's from northern Indiana.
In northern Indiana, it's Little Poland, I swear.
I didn't know that. Don't tell any German neighbors.
I want to move into the Poland neighborhood.
Are you done? Are you done with your punchki?
It's in my mouth right now.
Shoot
But here's the
faster.
thing. It was really good. I might go grab the other ones that are sitting on the counter.
Wait, this is your dinner? A donut?
Dude,
He wakes up and has a Coke and a cigarette. Why are you concerned about his eating habits now?
yeah. Like, I am not the pinnacle of health. And
And there's me
Yeah.
who made us bullshit. What'd I make?
You made cauliflower patties.
Cauliflower fritter thingies. Because everybody's like, oh, they're a great substitute for potatoes.
That's
And I
a
was
lie,
like-
by
there's
the
a
way.
good substitute for potatoes.
It's
There is only potatoes.
bullshit.
If anybody tells you that there's a good substitute for potatoes,
I
you go
th-
tell them to fuck
I
themselves.
think they are just sad people. So, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a fucking potato.
Potatoes are the
Yeah,
ultimate.
Potatoes are the
What-
super starch. And cauliflower, like, I was just like, well, we need to eat more vegetables. That's our big health issue is we don't even eat enough. So I can at least try and find new vegetables so that we're not always eating peas and corn. And so I made these fritter things, and they weren't bad. It's just
They're
like
kind of like the
they're
bastard.
not-
They're kind of like the bastard children potatoes.
Speaking of bastard children,
Hey, what are we talking about today?
we're talking about the bastard child.
I know that. I was like,
Oh,
Welcome to Tutor. I hardly know her.
30 minutes in.
Like
God, that was good.
4 or 5. They're gonna open this with cauliflower sucks. Hey guys, how you doing?
doing good.
I'm doing well, but I got a cat that won't keep out of my lap right
Yeah,
now.
Tetra keeps jumping up in Jeff's lap, and it's super cute, but she's such a little pain in the butt. And then there's Poe picking at his gross little toes. Blah. How's Garrett?
Besides his
I'm
punchkis.
Punchki.
Punchki.
Oh God, guys, I'm excited about this episode.
What are we talking about today?
Bastards.
We are talking about the bastard child.
Ooh.
We're gonna talk about Henry Fitzroy. So, you guys know him as the bastard of Bessie Blount.
How could you
Yes.
forget a name like that?
I know.
How could you forget a name like that?
So I was doing research during lunch today, and whenever I'm just writing my notes for me, if I type them, I don't really give a shit about what my typing is like. So I make a lot of spelling errors. But the first line, I meant to write Henry Fitzroy, and I accidentally wrote Herny Fitzroy. And so all day I've been saying it in my head, Herny Fitzroy.
Hermy? Like
no,
the
I
elf
just
from
inverted
Rudolph?
the R and the N. So instead of Henry, I wrote Herny.
So it's Herny.
Herny Fitzroy. The Swedish child.
I'm a bastard of the eighth.
And there goes all of our Swedish listeners.
Hey, we kept the French listener.
I want them all. I want to collect all the listeners like Pokemon.
If you're from Sweden, let us know. We will. And this is brought to you by delicious Coca-Cola.
That was actually a Pepsi. Pepsi, when you don't have Coke.
Ad free. No, we're going to talk about
that one's for free, Pepsi.
Pepsi's the bastard child of Coca-Cola. No, we are going to talk about the bastard Herny Fitzroy. I'm going to say it like that's why Jeff was home and I was finishing up my research and I kept giggling to myself and Jeff's like, "What's funny?" And I'm like, "You'll find out." It's just because every time I wrote Henry, I was like, Herny. So sorry if I keep giggling to myself. Are you guys ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we talk about this guy a lot. And
Let's
we
hear
never
about the little
really
bastard.
have talked
Let's
about
hear
him.
about the little bastard.
He's in the conversation, but he's never the topic of conversation.
Now he's the topic. So obviously, Herny Fitzroy was the son of Henry VIII and his mistress Elizabeth, or
Now,
Bessie Blount.
Bessie Blount.
so is that 100% proven that
Yes,
he was the bastard? How do they know that?
because she wasn't married. And if you're banging the king, you better not be banging anybody else, or else you get executed, like a certain second wife.
I mean, but Anne Boleyn did it.
That's what I'm saying. She got executed.
That's how she lost her head.
And also she did not. That's slander bullshit. She was not stupid enough to ruin her life by actually sleeping with somebody else.
Right.
Anyway, no, it was the only bastard that Henry acknowledged, and it was because Bessie was unmarried. And then he never made that mistake again and always slept with married ladies so that he
Much easier.
wouldn't have to acknowledge the other kids. It really was. So,
I mean, smart.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what I do.
I'm not down for all that, but I mean, it's smart.
I mean, don't have affairs. Okay, wait. I'm about to.
If this
I'm
podcast
sorry.
is here to teach you anything,
I'm about.
it's don't have
I'm
an
about
affair.
to lose the Queen as our listener. Sorry, Queen Elizabeth. I've been reading a book about Princess Diana, and I know it's totally in her favor. But Prince Charles is a bitch. He is an asshole, like supreme asshole. So if you guys don't know anything about Prince Charles and Princess Diana, which I'm sure you don't, Prince Charles was a playboy. I don't know how, because those ears, I mean, my God.
I don't think I know what he looks like.
He's just ears.
Think of a most
He's the
stereotypical
most
British man.
stereotypical British man and like a caricature. And that's Prince Charles. So,
I didn't realize he was that old.
I mean,
Kind of looks like Joe Biden.
okay, so I've been reading this book about Princess Diana, and Prince Charles was a playboy before they were together, and then his father kept saying, "You need to get married, you need to get married, you need to get married." So when he was in his 30s, he was like, well, there's an eligible 19-year-old, let's get married. And also, he was banging this woman. Her name, Camilla Parker Bowles. She is currently his wife. He had an affair with her for almost the entirety of his relationship with Diana. He was an asshole. Sorry, I just felt very passionate about that.
The Queen didn't like Elizabeth, did she?
So in the book, they kept saying that the Queen basically like stayed out of it. She wouldn't like interfere in their marriage at all. But I'm only up to right after Harry was born, so I don't actually know if she later on confessed to not liking her. I think most people think she didn't like her. I mean, she just didn't fit in with the royal family. It didn't make her a bad person. It's just like they were a bunch of uptight assholes. So calling it like
Maybe
I
that'll
see it.
happen again with Meghan Markle.
Well, they've got a new generation. They've got Diana's kids, and William was 15 when she died, so they remember enough about her, and the monarchy knows they have to make some changes. So I think they are, and everybody loves the Duchess Kate. So I think having Meghan Markle will just add to the appeal. Stay tuned for the live episode of the wedding. It's gonna happen.
Starring only
Is that gonna be at,
Emily.
like 5 in the morning.
Starring Emily and one of our listeners from South Bend, who's not Garrett. No, Garrett, you have to wake up. I'm going to be FaceTiming you. It's going to be 4 a.m. and you're going to hear boop, 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 boop.
Whoa. Garrett, the royal
The wedding is starting, Garrett. All right, let's go back to the royals we all are here for.
Yeah.
So Henry was and now it's super confusing because there's Henry the Bastard and Henry the King. So I'm going to call Henry the Bastard Herny.
Herny and Henry.
Let's call him Fitz.
No, I like Herny. Herny Fitz.
That's a cool name. Like if he had like a Disney Channel movie
It'd be
about him, he'd be
Fitz.
called Fitz.
Yeah, but this is not a Disney Channel movie. It's not a very happy story. So he was, and it's kind of weird to think about this. He had a couple of half siblings, and 3 of them ended up being royals. There was Queen Mary the First. He was the younger half brother of her, and the older half brother of Elizabeth and Edward. But he was still a bastard, so it didn't really amount to, well, it shouldn't have amounted to much. But because we're talking about our pal Hank VIII, it did. So Herny was conceived while Catherine of Aragon was pregnant with her last child. Ended up being a stillborn baby girl, which is very sad. But Henry couldn't keep it in his pants, so he got Bessie pregnant. And because she wasn't married, she ended up being taken to a priory. I think that's like a monk place, nun place, something like that. None such. And she gave birth in June. They're not exactly sure when because it was a secret because she wasn't supposed to be pregnant. But it was around June 15th is the guest date.
Hey, Emily.
Hey, Garrett.
A priory is a small monastery or nunnery that is governed by a prior or prioress.
I was right. Yay me.
Synonyms include religious house, abbey, and cloister.
It's a cloister.
That's a Pokemon.
That's a Pokemon.
Yeah. So, no diplomatic dispatches were sent out around the time of his birth. I'm not sure if that means the ambassadors didn't know, because I feel like Chapuis, who wouldn't stop gossiping about everything, would have. Well, actually, I don't think he was in place then. But either way, I feel like if the ambassadors knew, there'd be announcements about it. So the ambassadors didn't know. It was a secret baby.
Secret
history. Wolsey was his godfather, which was super nice of Henry. But they don't know who the other apparently they had 2 godfathers and 2 godmothers. Don't know what that was about because we don't even have that these days in Catholicism. But because Henry actually acknowledged him, he gave him the last name of Fitzroy, and that literally means son of the king. And he also, of course, was named Henry, so they weren't too subtle about him being a.
Had to go to Henry's good side. Let's name him after him.
And give him this name.
All right,
son
so
of the
explain
king.
the Fitzroy things. You broke it down one day to me, and I didn't even realize that's what Fitzroy meant.
Fitz means son. Wait, was I talking to you about this?
You're talking to me and someone else.
Dan, I think.
Yeah,
or
we're
Britt.
talking the British guy was on here before.
Fitz means son, and Roy means king. It'd be technically Fitzroy, R-O-I. So Fitzroy is son of the king. So when you hear the name Fitz whatever, it means son of...
And the tantrums.
Yes. So
That's
he
what I
is
think of
son
all
of
the
the
time.
It's son and the tantrums. No, so there are a lot of names out there like Fitzwilliams, Fitz whatever. That
Gerald.
means son of. It's probably son of William. Jeff and I are changing our last name because Jeff's dad is Jimmy, so Jeff is going to be Jeffrey Fitzjimmy.
God, that's a good name.
I know, I love it. And then he's got a brother who's also named Jimmy. So Brad will actually be Jimmy Fitzjimmy. So our names are legally being changed. We want to be the Fitzjimmies.
Emily Fitzjimmy.
Well, I married
That's got
Jeff.
a good ring to it.
Well, technically,
I
it's supposed
know.
to be Fit James, but I like Fit Jimmy more.
No, I like Fitzjimmy. And, okay, wait, it gets even better. Jeff's grandfather's name is Jimmy, so Jimmy Dean is actually Jimmy Fitzjimmy. And then Brad would be Jimmy Fitzjimmy the second or third. I don't really know. I've lost count.
Too many Fitz Jimmys.
This is where we gotta stop with the stupid James name, okay, guys? So you should now address to us as Mr. and Mrs. Fitzjimmy, please.
All right, we need to stop this. My jimmies are getting rustled.
Okay. Was that a laugh?
That was like if the dog from Wacky Races was laughing.
Apparently. So Henry wanted to show off that he was actually able to create a baby boy. So he showed him off at court, and it's likely that he showed off the brand new baby boy at a banquet.
See,
that
I
his
can
wife,
have a son.
Well, Henry's
It's
a
physically
dick.
possible.
Henry's a dick because he showed off the baby at a banquet that his wife, who had just had a stillborn baby girl, was throwing. Henry's
Well,
a dick.
I already bought all the stuff for our celebration. Might as well use it for something.
Stop.
Oh.
Jeffrey. No, it was actually for the
This
French
was Henry.
hostages.
It was
It was
exactly the-
Catherine who threw it.
Baby shoes never worn.
That's the saddest story ever.
It is.
Um,
Only 4 words.
no, it's like 6 words. The whole story is supposed to be for sale, baby shoes never worn.
That's what it is.
We all just got a little sad. Drink your wine. So, Henry Fitzroy, Herny, may have been a part of the royal nursery, but we're not totally sure. The support is that, so Mary was 3 when Herny was born, and her house was reorganized that year. So her lady mistress of the household was changed, and then 2 other people were removed from her household. So it's possible and probable that they went to Herny's. And then later on, Lady Margaret Bryan, who had been the lady mistress, claimed that she had actually been like a mother to all of Henry's children. And just the context indicated that Herny was included.
So, did Catherine have anything to say about this?
Yes, she got upset, and he said, "Fuck you."
A
and
lot of things to say.
Yeah, she got upset, and he said, "Fuck you," and took away her last Spanish ladies.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, Herny was given a decent,
I'm sure the marriage will last.
probably super solid. So he was probably he got a decent education. A man named Sir Richard Croke was his tutor.
Was he an anthropomorphic frog or some shit? Is this a Disney movie?
It is, yes, of course.
Again, Disney movie.
Always a Disney movie. So apparently it was a very undisciplined house that Herny was living in for a while. But he wasn't stupid. He read Caesar and Virgil, and he knew Greek, so he's pretty fucking smart. And then in 1525, the little boy Herny was 6 years old, and Catherine could not have any more children, and Henry, our king, still needed a son. And there were no males in his line. He didn't have any brothers. He didn't have any nephews. Everybody else he saw as a threat anyway. So even if he did have brothers or nephews, he probably would have killed them. So
To the tower.
everybody was kind of looking at the little boy like, oh, hey, he could be useful. So before he was even 6 years old, he was given his own London residence. And if that's not...
I'm still living with friends, and I'm almost 30.
That's fucked up.
That's what you get for not being a bastard to the royalty.
I know. Jesus, Garrett. Go claim to be Philip, Duke of Edinburgh's bastard. There are rumors that he had an affair. Now, to be fair, it was in the 50s.
You can't prove
Or
anything
60s.
unless you
Sorry,
actually try to
60s.
do a DNA test.
Yes. And my DNA is private. What's the cut this part.
23andMe.
What? Yeah,
Is
do
that
23andMe.
the DNA.
Let's go
DNA
get
thing?
let's go get a swab of Queen Elizabeth and the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that swab from Queen Elizabeth, by the way.
We have a girl who said she'd give us a swab.
No, we're still waiting for the one from the actual Queen.
Come on, Elizabeth.
Come on.
We're waiting on you.
We know you're listening.
Not anymore. We pissed her off
That's a
and talking
heist
about
movie in the
Charles.
making. We haven't had a movie pitch in a long
I'm sure
time.
she even's like, yes,
Breaking
my
in-
son is an
breaking-
asshole.
You got to break into the royal palace to get a swab of the queen's mouth.
Nick Cage is
Nick
gonna do
Cage.
it.
I'm going to steal
I'm
the
gonna
Queen's
steal
blood.
the DNA.
Oh my god, if he's trying to steal the queen's blood, okay, now it's a vampire movie.
He already has that. It's called Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, it's a sequel to that.
If you just make the title British by adding an extra E. Ye old Vampire's Kiss.
Kissy.
So, Herny was brought up as a prince, not a bastard. So he had the life and the education of a prince, and Henry
He
wasn't.
had it all.
Henry, our king, wasn't too subtle. So then, when he was 6 years old, on June 18th, this little shit got a lot of stuff. So he was in Wolsey's mansion, and he traveled by barge down the River Thames, which, by the way, I only ever learned how to pronounce that because of the show The Tudors, so thank you. And he was escorted by knights and squires and gentlemen, and they went to Bridewell Palace. And amongst the guests was Thomas Howard. He was the third Duke, the Duke of Norfolk, and Charles Brandon, and a bunch of bishops. So there were 2 ceremonies held for him that day. In the first ceremony, this little 6-year-old was created the Earl of Nottingham. By the way, I can't read the word Nottingham without thinking of Rottingham, so thank you very much, men in tights. So he had his patents read. He was made nobility, and that was the first time since the 1100s when Henry II named his. I think it was Henry II. I didn't write it down. Made his illegitimate son a peer of the realm. So big deal. And then the little 6-year-old just like kind of strutted out, and then he turned right back around and he went to the second ceremony, and he was given a double dukedom. He was named Duke of Richmond and Somerset.
Nice.
I know. Fun fact, the peerage of the Duke, not any Duke, I mean like the Duke in general, that title was created by Edward III, and he took it from the French. That's your fun fact for the day. It's not Henry VIII, sorry. So because everybody was super fucking pretentious, whenever this 6-year-old boy walked into a room, he was introduced as the Right High and Noble Prince Henry, Duke of Richmond and Somerset. So the dukedoms he was given actually have meaning. Henry's grandmother, Margaret Beaufort,
Mm-hmm.
her estates went to little Herny, and the inheritance of the Earl of Richmond, even though he's named Duke, the Earl of Richmond, and all the lands were from Margaret Beaufort's side of the family.
Okay.
So he was saying, this kid is my family even more. And the Duke of Somerset had meaning because John Beaufort, Margaret's father, his eldest was a royal... Wait. I don't know if that's right. John Beaufort, there were a billion of them. His eldest was a royal bastard who was legitimized later on. So that was another way Henry was saying, hey, he's totally my kid, and he's important. The earldom had also belonged to the young Prince Richard, Duke of York, Edward IV's second son. I know this is a lot of names right now. It was one of the princes in the Tower who was murdered, and he actually had a legitimate claim to the throne before that dick, Richard III, came along. And he was also given almost £5,000 a year in that time period. So imagine what that is now. Didn't do the calculations. Sorry, guys. And that was when Catherine got upset, and she goes, you're giving your bastard a lot of stuff that really shouldn't go to him. And he was like, fuck you. I'm taking your Spanish ladies. And she got in trouble.
Are you still talking?
So Henry's a dick again. He was also named, this is a 6-year-old, Lord High Admiral of England, Lord President of the Council of the North, and Warden of the Marches towards Scotland. Yep.
6.
Yep. Oh, wait. Hold
Can
on.
he even
Hold
pronounce
on.
half those?
It gets better. He was also named Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. And in fact, Henry wanted to name him King of Ireland, but his counselors were like, do you really want another king? Because we've got Scotland we're dealing with. And so he didn't. He was just named Lord Lieutenant of Ireland.
Lieutenant Fitz.
I know.
I got called a lot of things too as a kid, but well,
I mean, I had some really cool Barbie stories made up. I was responsible for doing.
I imagine when you played with Barbies, like you just pretended they were the Tudors, and like Ken was Henry VIII. He was Kenry VIII, and he was just beheading all the Barbies and
No,
Stacy.
I didn't
and
behead all my Barbies. My brother
Bridget.
did.
I don't know what their fucking names are.
This is one of the saddest Barbie stories of my youth.
Skipper, that was her sister's name.
Skipper. So my brother had one of those large G.I. Joe action figures. And I didn't have any Ken dolls, so I would always steal G.I. Joe, and he would play Barbie's hunky boyfriend, who was off in the military. And
But then she'd be sleeping with some other dude on the side, and it would be like, I don't know, it's like He-Man figure. I don't know.
well, one day I put the G.I. Joe in water, and it had real hair, but the water made the hair come out. And my brother was really pissed at me, so I came upstairs one day, and just a ton of my Barbies had their heads missing.
That's awesome.
No, it's not.
Because once you get a Barbie's head off, it's never going to be on right ever
I mean,
again.
you can. There's an art to it. You need a pen and a lot of patience and willingness to draw on the plastic. Your patience will be tested. That's my sad Barbie story. So
I think it'd be great if you just like drew like a face on the little neck stump that
I've
was left over.
seen that before. It's so creepy.
Glue the leftover hair on, like it'd be like Beaker was a Barbie doll.
So, in 1527, Henry the King sent that anthropomorphic frog Croak to the Pope to see if the Pope would be cool with making Herny his legitimate heir. And then in the middle of that, Henry the King wrote to him and was like, also, could you check up on a divorce while you're over there? So, this kid, when he's 10 years old, Henry keeps giving him shit, and it's like crazy. He names him the temporal lord in Parliament, and he was asked to bring charges against Cardinal Wolsey, his godfather. He was also 10. And then Henry the King gave Herny the bastard the rooms in the palace reserved for the Prince of Wales. So Mary, even though she was the Princess of Wales and entitled to that room, was moved to lesser rooms. And Henry was a dick again. Henry's just an asshole. Herny. So, then came about that whole disgusting thing where somebody, I've heard different sources cited, suggested that Mary, Henry the King's daughter, and Herny, Henry the King's son, marry each other.
Ugh.
So it would have strengthened Herny's claim to the throne.
Keep it in the family.
Keep it in the family.
Mhm.
But here's the thing. Okay, I don't know who suggested it. Was it Henry? Was it the Pope? I read in that J.G. Meyer book I read that I talked about a while ago.
Mhm.
She said it was the Pope who recommended it because he was so desperate to just keep Henry on his side and he couldn't give him the divorce, but he's trying to figure out a solution to the pretend problem Henry claimed was the sole issue for wanting a divorce, and that he needed a male heir. So the Pope was like, okay, here, have your male heir.
I mean, maybe Henry was just so jacked to like have his his son finally. It was like, I gotta do anything in my power, like just throw everything at the wall, see what it sticks, try to get this kid on the throne.
I wish I knew who exactly proposed it, because I've heard it's from different people. Some people said that Henry suggested it. Some sources say the Pope suggested it. So it's really fucked up. But
And who do you think it is?
I
Who do you
think
think did it?
I think it was the Pope.
Okay.
Because the Pope could have been like, well, I can grant a dispensation that says this is totally okay and not at all disgusting. And I really need you on my side. And I can't give you the divorce you want, but I can fix every other problem you're having. So I kind of think it was the Pope. The Pope. But during that time, Herny was also offered a lot of other marriage suggestions, princesses and stuff like that, like actual princesses. But then somehow he ended up just marrying the Duke of Norfolk's daughter. Like, I don't know how he was offered like the Queen of Portugal, and then he ended up marrying the Duke's daughter. But anyway, he did. He married Mary Howard on November 28th, 1533, and he was only 14 years old.
Aww.
So picture yourselves at 14 years old.
Yeah, I was totally ready for marriage back then.
Oh my God.
Let's see.
No, that poor girl.
I'm
just thinking about what it'd be like if I was married at 14.
I'm trying to think about who I had a crush on when I was 14.
I'm just now visualizing Morty from Rick and Morty. Having a wife. Oh man, totally gonna do it. All
Rick
right.
and Herny.
I'm Herny.
Well, if it helps,
Hank
the
and
marriage
Herny.
was never
Rick and Herny.
Rick and Herny. If it helps, the marriage was never consummated. So at least there's that. I didn't know that until today, but they did not do the dirty.
They did not drink Mountain Dew.
Fun fact: Henry VIII invented Mountain Dew.
And Nike at the same
Originally
time.
for the peasants and hillbillies in his town, but then it just kind of grew into its own extreme sports.
No,
thing.
no. He had Mountain Dew. He had Mountain Dew. The peasants had Mellow Yellow.
Henry invented Mountain Dew by saying "Mountain Dew me."
No, it's like Mountain Thunder.
What'd you say, Garrett?
I said no. We know that this is Mellow Yellow and that's Mountain Dew. Don't fuck with us, hen.
It's actually just Mountain Thunder from like the dollar store.
Oh my God, it's like Sam's Choice. Also, yeah, actual fun fact. Yeah, that's the thing about Mountain Dew, is originally marketed as a drink for hillbillies and people in the Appalachians.
So anyway, marriage never consummated. Then when Henry was never. So then when Henry was beheading Anne Boleyn and declaring Elizabeth disinherited.
Meanwhile,
Henry was also passing an act in Parliament that said he could name his successor, legitimate or not. And then after Anne Boleyn was beheaded, Henry told Herny that he and Mary were lucky to escape that poisoning whore, Anne Boleyn.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what a dick. I feel like...
I know a lot of people don't really like their exes and say some mean things, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, people are...
Henry VIII, the mentality of a 16-year-old.
Tried to poison me.
Poison bitch.
He then retreated to his chambers to write some poetry.
No, he was just drawing on his jerkin or whatever, like emo kids in high school, drawing on your jeans, scribbling on your chucks.
Oh man, I want to know what his doodle book looks like.
It's just
I bet
him
he has
with a
that stupid
giant
S
dick.
crystal that everybody drew in high school.
They don't draw dick pics, they draw cod pieces.
Cod pics.
God, Emily, can you upload that picture I sent you earlier?
Absolutely, that was a delight. So then everything was going really great for this 17-year-old Duke until they weren't, because then he died.
Things were going so well until he died.
So he was married to that girl for 3 years and they never did it?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm sure there were a lot of people who couldn't get banging while they were 16 or 17. Like, I'm sure there were a ton of people who did. But I'm also...
I thought that's Primetime Live.
I feel like I could name a lot of people who were not getting any tail when they were 16 or 17.
You don't need to say that, Emily. Come on.
It's the truth.
Why would you make accusations about Garrett that way?
You didn't need to name names, Jeff. You didn't need to name
Garrett,
names.
your voice just popped a little bit like you're in puberty again. Why did you have to be so mean to me, Jeff?
Oh God, guys.
Oh, jeez. See, that's the reason why.
You sound like Marty McFly the entire time.
So
I didn't have this smooth, deep radio voice back. Actually, I did. So there are other reasons why.
Garrett came out like that.
Garrett always sounded
Milk
like
mother.
he always sounded like he'd been smoking like 6 packs of cigarettes a week.
I came out of the birth canal. I looked up at my mother and father, and I said, "Mother, father, hello."
It's nice to meet you.
A pleasure. I'm sure we'll have a great relationship.
I'd
together.
like some. What are those rolly shoes he has?
Heelys.
Please,
Get me some Heelys and some cigarettes, and we'll be good.
If we want to keep on this diversion, I remember I used to read in church back in the day when I used to go to church, and a girl who I went to high school with, she stopped me after the service, and she said, "Hey, Gary, you did a really good job in that reading." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." She's like, "Yeah, I thought the devil was up there though. Like, you've got a really deep voice."
Not the thing you want to hear from.
The devil was up there.
Not the thing you want to hear from someone at church.
Okay, so here's a story about my
Of a lovely
church-going
lady.
youth. When I was, everybody knows that at Christmas and Easter you have to.
We've
get
also
to
just
church.
dropped down to 2-star ratings for all these diversions.
No, I actually want Jeff to cut some of these out. So everybody knows that at Christmas and Easter you have to get to mass like to church like an hour or two before it's supposed to start in order to get seats.
Yeah, you gotta get the good seats.
Especially if you're like one of 5,000 like me and my siblings. So there'd be a couple hours where I was bored, and I specifically remember what I would do is I'd pull out the songbook, and I'd flip through it, and I'd pretend that the lyrics were potion ingredients to brew something. And upon reflection, I find it hilarious that a 5-year-old was pretending to be a witch and brewing a potion
During
in
mass.
God's house.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Also, what do you consider good seats at church? Because I think it's all the way in the back.
Mom and Dad were up right next to the choir.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the worst.
Yeah.
You want all the way in the back, often one of the wings. You don't want to be center.
You don't
wanna
want you don't want that priest looking you in the eye when he's talking about your sins.
Also, you need a place where you can take a nap and not be bothered.
Jeez, my parents would have killed us if we fell
Yeah.
asleep. Okay, back to Herny. So
Bless you.
he died.
Bless you again.
Bless you. Okay, so in July 1536, he became sick. A little bit before, maybe June or July. They don't exactly know when. But in April and May, he was at these events that he wasn't reporting any illnesses at. So he was reported to have consumption, which was tuberculosis. Yeah, if you know anything about tuberculosis, it's not good.
I've got the black lung pop.
So he died in July of 1536 on the 23rd. And Norfolk was his father-in-law, and Henry had him take care of the burial very secretly for some reason. It says the body was wrapped in lead, but you can't wrap something in lead. Lead is not a flexible material. So I'm literally picturing a corpse being dipped into a vat of molten lead.
I've seen a lead balloon before.
Fuck off. Mythbusters didn't exist in the 1530s.
You don't know that. Jamie Hyman could have been there.
He's magical.
They look like they could have, like you could dress up Jamie Heineman like in like
You
Henry's
could.
robes.
It would work
I
for
wrapped
him.
the prince inside those lead robes.
So he was wrapped in lead, and then his casket was supposed to be closed
He
while
was
it
a
was
baked
taken.
potato.
Yes. His casket was supposed to be closed while he was taken to the burial, but for some reason, something got fucked up, and he was put in just like a straw-filled wagon, I guess. And it's weird to read about it because I'm like, okay, so I guess that's bad. But then he was buried, and later on, Henry was like, Norfolk, you tried to do this secretly. I hate you. And it looked like Norfolk was actually going to get sent to the tower for that. So it was really weird. And as a reminder, that was the year 1536. So that was just the continuation of a wonderful year for Henry. So while I was reading about this, I saw one article that was like, did someone murder the Duke of Richmond? And I was like, what? So I clicked on it. Oh my God, it's the most bullshit thing I've ever seen. I don't even know where this person who wrote this article got their ideas from, because they go through all the facts, every fact I just told you, and then they were like, is it possible that Cromwell whispered something to Henry VIII about Herny trying to plot against him, and so Henry VIII had his child murdered? I'm like,
I mean, at some point, like, when we run out of things to talk about, we run out of facts and stuff, people just got to start up with conjecture and, and try to keep it spicy.
That conjecture pisses me off, because that's exactly why Margaret Beaufort's being accused of killing the princes in the tower. So do you guys remember the princes in the tower?
Yep.
Of course.
Okay, so Richard III probably had them killed. He's the one who directly benefited from their deaths. Anybody else who would have benefited from their deaths only would have benefited from them if like a million other things happened to fall in line, right? So like, yes, Margaret Beaufort's son Henry VII benefited from their death, but only after Richard III's son also died, and then he also didn't get married, and then Henry VII also invaded England, and like a million things had to line up between those events for it to really work out. But that kind of conjecture is what started this whole bullshit. Margaret Beaufort killed the princes in the tower. There's no factual evidence. There's just no way she could have done it. It doesn't make sense. I just get super annoyed when people are like, I'm going to decide that this is what I want to say happened. And it's usually people who are weirdly in love with Richard III. And I just can't understand it. I know I've talked about this before. But he's not a good guy. Even if he didn't kill the princes in the tower. I think he did, but there is no evidence that says he did. So I can't say yes or no he did or did not do it. But regardless, he still took the crown from his nephews and made himself king. So he's a dick. Although that does bring up a good question. So this past week, I had this Margaret Beaufort, Richard III discussion on Twitter with a couple of other historical people. And it was super intimidating because they all actually study this for a living. And I'm just a weird obsessor. But we were talking about this. And I made the point that Richard III still took the crown from his nephews, regardless of whether or not he had them murdered later on. Like, he took the crown. He was a usurper of the throne. Well, then the guy was like, well, if that's your issue, then you should also hate Edward IV, Henry the Sixth, and Henry VII. I forgive Henry VII because technically he could claim the crown through conquering, which is what he did. But now I'm wondering, why are we so willing to hate on Richard III for taking the crown, but not Edward IV or Henry VI, which they did do exactly that. And my only thinking, I think it comes down to Richard III acted against children.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Not only children, it was his own blood relation.
Yes. Well,
too.
I mean, they were all kind of related back then, but it was the closest relationship.
Yeah.
They were his nephews. The others were all cousins in some way, shape, or form. But to me, it all comes down to he acted against children who were defenseless, and the mystery of their disappearance haunts him as well. And I know a lot of Richard III apologists out there are like, this is Shakespeare's fault because he wrote Richard III and portrayed him as a villain. There is some evidence behind all of that to support that he was actually a villain. And I just remember when Richard III's body was found under the car park in Leicester, they did a scan of the skeleton to find out if he actually had a humpback, because for so long Richard III fans were like, oh no, he totally didn't have a humpback. That's just propaganda. That's bullshit. Then they did the scan and they found out he actually had a humpback. I'm just waiting for like some sort of evidence.
What hump?
I want to find out about those bones that were found in the tower. I want to find out if those were the princes. I'm so interested. Histories, mysteries, secret history. Sneaky history. Is it sneaky history or secret history?
Sneaky.
Sneaky.
Oh, I thought it was secret history. I'm insane.
Why don't you listen to your
Anyway.
own podcast, Emily?
Sometimes I do. I'm a narcissist.
I don't.
I sometimes do.
I have to listen to myself enough. I don't like it.
Well, you're in the radio.
Yeah.
So
And maybe a little bit more.
maybe what?
Well, I'll tell you later.
Okay. Well, that's it for Herny Fitzroy. I like how you guys
Good stuff.
never stopped me from calling him Herny.
Because when was Edward born?
1537.
So, like, right after Fitz.
The year after he died.
Wow. That's
Yep.
because I'm really curious how he would have treated Fitzroy after Edward would have been born. Like, if he lived, how he would have treated him.
I feel like he still would have treated him well-ish, but I think it would have been on the same lines as Elizabeth and Mary, because
You're old news now, kid.
he said that Mary was a bastard and Elizabeth was a bastard. But they still got a good education.
Oh,
and
yeah. No, he still took care
So
of him.
I think that he would have been treated the same as those two. And then since Henry put them in line for the throne, it would have gone Edward, Henry, Mary, Elizabeth.
So it's kind of crazy to think there would have been a chance that he could have been king
I
if
know.
he just lived.
It's just one of those what ifs about history that I love thinking about.
Because
So
Hadn't
much.
gotten sick like all the other ones.
Just like a-
could have been king.
Yeah, it's just like it'd be just fascinating like that a bastard would have been made king of England.
Well,
The
I mean,
bastard king.
if you want, you can think of Elizabeth or Mary as a bastard.
Yeah, but at least he was actually married to their moms at some
But
point.
that's the thing is,
I know
because
he
had an
tried
annulled,
to he had annulled, so they're like
it wasn't.
exist,
They
but-
weren't married. The marriage never happened.
Speaking of bastards, is that kid from Game of Thrones based off of him?
No,
Okay.
I don't think
I was
so.
going to make a Gendry joke in the beginning, and then I'm like, I don't know.
Wait. Are we talking about Gentry, or are we talking about Gendry, or are we talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about Gendry.
Probably not, because he wasn't
No.
really he wasn't an acknowledged bastard.
Yeah, no, he didn't even know his father was the king.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know.
no, I don't think he was. I don't think there was a Henry Fitzroy didn't do enough in the political realm to actually have anything based off of him. Like, it's just, even in the show The Tudors, he was killed when he was 3 years old or something. Because he was just like, didn't do anything. Like, they just needed his death. Okay.
Anyway, anything else for us, then?
No, I think that's it.
I got something I wanted to add.
Jeff got something he wants to add.
Oh, Jeff.
Oh, yes. Wait, Jeff does have something good to add.
So where I work right now, we get a lot of music stuff too. So we also do a lot of like vintage vinyl, mostly rock stuff. But sometimes we'll get some weird oddball ones. And I was flipping through our vinyl the other day while I was working, and I found this. And all I saw on the cover was the title, "The Six Wives of Henry VIII." I thought it was like, because we have some laser disc too, because someone like just left another store. I thought maybe it was like a documentary. I looked up like, wait, no, this is a music vinyl. What the hell is that? I flip it open. It's just a picture of a man surrounded by keyboards. I haven't listened to it yet, but I really want to. It's like a guy does 6 songs, each one based around the different wives.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be.
It's
I
called
want it.
It's called Rick Wakeman, The Six Wives of Henry VIII.
Rick Rickman.
I'm probably gonna buy it because it's like $3.
I want it.
Just because I'm really curious what it sounds like and what it is.
I want it.
But I just saw that and like it made me really like it's just so random of a thing. Like so each song is kind of inspired by each of the different wives.
I'm pumped.
I looked up Rick Rickman and found some pictures of a guy that looks like Phil Collins and Bill Murray had a kid together.
Yeah, I said this is Rick Wakeman.
Wakeman. Okay. That changes everything.
Yeah.
Rick, did you look up Rick Rickman?
Yeah.
I am
This
Rick
guy
Fitzrick.
looks amazing.
Rick Fitzrick. Anyway.
Anyway. How to
But I'll probably get it. We'll report on it next time.
Yes. Jeff and I will do a rendition of it. Do you like my song? It's so lovely. That's it. Right?
Okay.
Until next time?
Yeah.
Wait.
Find
us
you
on
gotta
Tutor.
pimp us out.
Find us on social. Find us
Yeah.
on Tutor. On Facebook, our Facebook page is simply Tutor I Hardly Know Her. And on Twitter, we are at Tutor Know Her. That's where I share stuff that's happened today in Tutor history. I do the same thing on Facebook, but we get a little more conversation going out of Facebook. Follow us on both and rate and review us and keep being cool.
Okay, I'm looking at this album. And it's bugging me because the first song is Catherine of Aragon. The second song is Anne of Cleves. The third one is Catherine Howard. Then on the second side, it's Jane Seymour, then Anne Boleyn, then Catherine Parr.
Huh.
Oh, fuck that guy. We can't listen to it. Boycott Rick Wakeman.
And Rick Rickman, just for the hell of it. Until next time.
Until
Divorce,
next time.
Divorce,
beheaded,
beheaded, died. Divorce, beheaded, survived.
survived.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.